Morning, everybody. I apologize for being late. Morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. It is approximately 12.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, jeez. This is approximately 12:13 PM. I call this meeting to order of the Laredo College Finance and Audit Committee meeting. I will proceed with roll call. Jorge Delgado, present. Esteban Rangel, absent. Karina Elizondo, absent. And Ms. Tita Vela.
Here.
And of course, joining us in her presence is Madam Chair, Ms. Lupita Cepeda.
Present.
All right, we will continue on with agenda item number 3, which is the July 2023 financial report. Mr. Cesar Vela.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Dr. Ramirez. For the record, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance Administration. You should have received a copy of the July 2023 financial report. I'll quickly go over the highlights for July. As of July 31st, we have recorded or recognized 66,431,215 of revenue. Our budget was 66,290,455. So as you can see, we have collected what we had budgeted for. We will most likely surpass our projections by about $1.5 million. We do still have $1 million left from the state appropriations, and we do have a couple of pending items on the tuition and fees, as well as the tax collections. One item to note is we've been reporting is on our tax collections. We had budgeted a 99% collection rate. As you can see, we're at 97% when we look at the total tax levy. We're at 98.7% of our budget, which was $42.3 million. So we have a balance of $132,588 to collect. We're projecting that we'll collect about half of that balance. So again, we are not going to meet what we projected, but we do have other line items where we have surpassed what we were expecting to collect to make up for that difference. Again, at this point, we have already recognized 100% of our budget when it comes to the revenues. We are still, like I mentioned, pending to collect the $1 million from the state appropriations, and about another $500,000 from both the tax collections and the tuition and fees. As far as expenses for the year, expenditures are at $53,794,292. That's 81.15% of our budget. We are projecting that we will have around $4.5 million in savings this fiscal year. We are pending the last month of operation and all the closing entries. We're currently working on closing the fiscal year as we prepare to start the audit for 2023. When it comes to the actual expenditures for the year, they're pretty much in line to where we're at last year. We don't have any major variances to report. Again, projections is that we'll have about $4.5 million at the end of the year in savings. And when we look at the other funds for the Import-Export Center, we have a state appropriation revenue of $162,308. That's 66.3% of our budget. We are pending the last payment of the year. And expenses of $119,290 for a net change or increase to the fund balance of $43,018. Auxiliary services, revenues of $1,502,742. That's 105% of our projected revenue. Expenses of $988,955, or for a net change or increase to the fund balances of $513,787. In restricted funds, we have 26,395,972 for both revenues and expenses. 22.3 million is coming from federal funding, and the majority of that is our Pell grants. For the year, we had 18,400,000 in Pell grant revenue. As far as the other funding, we do have a small portion of it coming from HERF funding, approximately 1.5 million for the year came from the HERF funding. We still have a balance that we're carrying forward until the end of next June. And that is the funding that we'll be using to continue with the meal plans for the fall and spring semesters.
What's the balance on the HERF funding?
So we currently have about 1.3 million left.
Thank you.
The facilities master plan phase 3, as of July 31st, the balance is 14,744,385. We are currently working on the last 3 projects. Again, we began the year with a balance of 17.4 million. We had interest revenue generated of 530,501. We do have a contribution, 2 contributions that came in. One was for 5 million, and that is for the MFA HVAC project that was approved by the board to transfer 5 million from savings to this project. And then we had another transfer of 953,175, and I believe that one was for, just one moment. There's another transfer that was approved, and this one came from phase 2 to phase 3 to do the Rubén Garcia building. So the total transfers into phase 3 or LC contributions were the 5 million for the MFA and the 953,000 for the Rubén Garcia building. Expenditures for the year are 9,238,191. For a net decrease to the facilities master plan phase 3 funding of 2.7 million. And as I mentioned earlier on the tax collections as of July 31st, out of a tax levy of 42,728,810, we have collected 41,769,761. That represents 97.76%. So we'll be hitting the 98% collection rate. Again, we had budgeted a 99%. As you can see from fiscal year 2022, we collected 99.17%. But this year we're going to fall a little bit short, and that's why we're making that adjustment for the 2024 budget. The last item is just an update on the general operating fund balance. We began the fiscal year with a $5,444,204 in the fund balance. We have a revenue for the year of 66.4 million, expenditures through July 31st of 53.7. Then we do have again some transfers out. Again, the 5 million that was transferred out to the MFA project. And we had the one more transfer out, which was the I don't have that information, but it was 2 transfers that were made out. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it was the transfer out to the deferred maintenance projects. So we had a 1.8 million going to the deferred maintenance projects and 5 million for the MFA project. So the net change to the fund balance is 5.7 million. We are still planning to close out the fiscal year. Like I mentioned, we're projecting that we'll have 4.5 million in savings this year. As you can see right now, the ending fund balance would stand at 10.8 million. So we've gone from a negative 13 million to a positive 10.8 million. Again, that number will go down as we record the final transactions for the fiscal year. Any questions on the report?
Thank you very much, Mr. Vella. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is the May 2023 quarterly investment report. Mr. Vella.
Yes, this is, included in the report is the quarterly, investment report for the month of May. Total investments and deposits as of May 30th, totaled $132,934,083. 110 million of those funds are currently deposited in demand deposit accounts at the Falcon Bank. We do have one US Treasury note for 3.3 million, investment pools of 19,490,654. So the current yields that have been recorded for the month of May, the demand deposits yielded 4.14%. The Lone Star investment pool yielded 5.23%. The FIT investment pool 5.15%, and the US Treasury note, which matures next week, is yielding 3.01%. Any questions on the investments?
Thank you, Mr. Vella. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is the approval to purchase computer equipment for esports program. Mr. Vella.
Yes, board members, we're asking approval for the purchase of computer equipment for the esports program. The total amount is $56,936.55. The purchase is being made through Dell Technologies using Texas DIR contract TSO 3763. This equipment will be located in a new lab that it will be built at the gymnasium, and it'll be for the esports program. Again, the equipment includes 15 computers with all the accessories.
How often do we have to upgrade these?
This is the first time we've done copies.
Yeah, but
So
Every day.
our regular computers are upgraded every 3 to 4 years. Now, being that this is specialized gaming equipment, we might have to be looking at it at least every 2 years. We did have actually, this is the second set of computers that we purchased for esports use. The first set are actually located at the South Campus at the game room, and those are available for all students. This is specifically for the students that will be participating in the esports program. But the other set that we purchased last year, those are located at the South Campus game room.
any questions? Thank you, Mr. Vella. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, the approval of annual subscription for the library Cersei Linux Enterprise System. Mr. Cesar Vella.
Yes, good afternoon. Again, this item is to request approval for the annual maintenance renewal for the library Symphony software in the amount of $90,828.10. The subscription fees cover the period of September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2024. This is basically the integrated library system that is used here at both Fort McIntosh and South Campus to maintain all the data, excuse me, student data and book data. It has for the modules that are included as part of this software are the serials control, acquisition, circulation control, enterprise subscription, bibliographic and inventory control are some of the items that are included. The amounts that are needed for this purchase are being budgeted as part of the 2024 budget under the library services contracted services agreement. I'm sorry, maintenance agreement line item. Again, the total is $90,828.10.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Vella. I'll say thank you at the end of the meeting. Be up there for a while. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, ratification of purchase of audio visual equipment for the Memorial Hall and the La Garza buildings. Mr. Vella.
Yes, members of the board, we're asking ratification of the purchase of audiovisual equipment for both the Memorial Hall and the De La Garza buildings. This equipment is being purchased from Audiovisual Aids using buy board contract number 644-21. The total cost is $85,895.10. The equipment is being installed in 5 classrooms at the Memorial Hall building and 2 labs in the De La Garza building. The equipment in the Memorial Hall building will be utilized by the Protected Services Department, and the De La Garza building labs are for the Import-Export Center. Again, the funding for this purchase is coming from the Facilities Master Plan Phase 2 equipment savings.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, approval for purchase of video conferencing equipment. Mr. Vela?
Yes, board members, this is to request approval for the purchase of video conference equipment for the Academic Innovation and Technology Center in the amount of $77,086.27, and the corresponding installation and deployment services in the amount of $40,658. The equipment is being purchased from UC Direct using Texas DIR contract CPO-5063. The installation is being done by Zoom rooms. Again, the equipment will be installed in LEAC rooms 305 and 306, located in the Academic Innovation and Technology Center, and it'll be used as a center so that we can provide flex courses or high flex courses, I'm sorry, where we'll be able to have both in-person and online instruction within the same classroom. The equipment that's being purchased are cameras, speakers, and microphones. The cameras and the software that's included with the purchase essentially allows for the instructor to provide instruction to both in-face students and online students at the same time.
Just the total expense?
So we're looking at 77 is just the equipment, and 40,658 for the installation. So close to about 112,000. And again, the funding is being budgeted in the 2024 budget under contracted services line item and equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. All right, any questions? All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 9, the approval to purchase furniture for the De La Garza building.
Yes, board members, in this item is to request that the board approve the purchase of furniture for the De La Garza building in the amount of $65,062.16. The furniture is being purchased from Office Source Ltd. using the Omnia Cooperative Buying Group contract number TVR 939250, contract R 191816, contract R 19811, and contract R 191804. The furniture will be used to furnish 2 labs and student common area at the new Global Import-Export and Logistics Center located in the Garza building. We are using phase 2 equipment savings to purchase the furniture. Again, the total is $65,062.16. And you do have included in your board packet pictures of the items or the furniture that's being proposed for these areas.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 10, the approval of 5-year extension with Campus Logic for financial aid services.
Again, this is for approval of a 5-year extension with Campus Logic for financial aid services in the amount of $655,657. The board actually had already approved the contract, back in, 2018. For these services, and it's basically to automate, some of the services that are provided by the financial aid office. With this, they, are able to do the student forms, they do have the virtual advisor and campus communicator modules included in this packet. The term will run from September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2028. The agreement, has an, automatic renewals, for successive periods of 12 months. Again, at the Campus Logic, current rates. The amount that is needed for the first year, of the extension is 118,658. And this will cover the 2024 subscription. And this amount is being included in the 2024, Financial Aid Department's contracted services budget. Any questions?
How much is it every year after that? Years 2, 3, 4?
So the total 5-year contract is 655, 657, and we do have a breakdown on your packet, of the annual cost. So for the first year, it's 118,658. For the second year will be 124,590. Third year is 130,820. Year 4, 137,361, and year 5 would be 144,228. For a total of 655, 657.
Thank you, Mr. Rilla. Now it's a real thing.
Now it's another.
All right, so we'll move on to agenda item number 11, approval to renew licenses and support for SoftDocs E-Retrieve document management system, Mr. Albert Chavez.
Good afternoon, members of the Finance and Audit Committee. Albert Chavez, Associate Vice President for Information Technology. For this particular item, we're requesting approval to do the year 2 renewal for licenses and support for our existing SoftDocs E-Retrieve document management system. For this particular item, we're proposing to purchase it using an E&I cooperative agreement number EI 0063 tilde 2021 MA using the reseller Carasoft.
Any questions? What's the total cost?
Oh, sorry, the total cost is 84,441 with 49 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 12, approvals to purchase wireless access points, Mr. Chavez.
Yes, good evening, or good afternoon, members of Finance and Audit Committee. For this particular item, we're requesting approval to purchase wireless access points, particularly in the count quantity of 60. For refreshing wireless access points in this at the main campus. For this particular item, we would like to purchase it using DIR agreement, DIR CIS 4167-Cisco DIR TSO 4167 through the reseller Computer Solutions, and the amount is 65,199 with 0 cents.
Are we adding any more or just replacing?
This will be replacement.
Is there any, I guess, option to add more?
We actually, as part of this item, there is software included that will allow us to better manage the wireless access points, and that it gives us heat maps for our wireless infrastructure. So after we acquire the software, we'll be able to have a better idea where we have the need to increase wireless access points.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chavez. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 13, approval of STARS, Border API, and Laredo Daybreak Rotary Scholarship Matching Funds as per donor's request. Ms. Sarapo.
Good afternoon, members of the Finance and Audit Committee meeting, President Ramirez, members of the executive team and guests. I'm here to request approval for consideration of a scholarship match as requested by the following organizations: Laredo Border Chapter API. They are going to be providing $30,000 to Laredo College. They are a nonprofit self-service oriented organization chartered in '82 by local oilfield service companies. The goal basically is to raise money for scholarships. Their request is $30,000, which will, their request for match is $30,000, making a total $60,000 available for scholarship for students who would be enrolled in either oil and gas or oil and gas related fields, a lot of which also will encompass workforce and continuing education students. The next request comes from Laredo Daybreak Rotary. They are very interested in providing a $1,500 scholarship to support students who will enroll in the upcoming real estate program that will be offered through continuing ed. With a match, there will be a total of $3,000 available for scholarship effective in September. And the last one comes from the Star Scholarship Fund. They will be providing the college up to $10,000 in scholarship. They're requesting a $10,000 match for the 22-23 academic year. The reason that STARS provides up to $10,000 is again, because it depends on the student eligibility and whether they actually qualified for the funding or not. And so should we provide the match, we will have a total of $20,000, up to $20,000 available for them. The total request for these three different organizations for scholarship match would be $41,500. Any questions?
Any questions? Wonderful, great job. Thank you so much. All right, agenda item number 14, approval of renewal of Laredo College property insurance. Dr. David Ariazola.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Dr. David Arizola, Vice President of Compliance and Risk Management for the record. We're asking the board to approve the renewal of our property insurance. So even though we did experience this year a significant increase in our premium from $506,924 to $799,303,000. A lot of comments. But most of that can be attributed to the increase in property values and also an increase in just insurance that's happening across the state and across the country. So a lot of the insurance companies, so we use USI as a broker to go look for insurance companies for us. A lot of the insurance companies are no longer insurance schools and Texas, so we're limited on our choices, but we do have a good insurance company and we do think that we're in good hands. It's terrible.
Wrong commercial.
Igniting excellence.
Good hands, so we're asking for to approve the premium for that.
And I think also just to mention, I know we spoke briefly yesterday, but also we've had a significant, as we all know, high claims that have been reported. Liberty Mutual that the USI places with is a great company. I think it's one of the better ones, especially with the deductible that we have. It's not pretty much what anybody else had as per the meeting. So it's definitely definitely one of the better options that we have, especially with the amount of claims that has been submitted, just like Dr. Arizola said, for the property values that have skyrocketed. We plan on selling it anytime soon. But more importantly, just in the event of something happening, especially since a lot of the buildings we have are
Historical.
Experience.
Historical.
But any other questions?
No. I think we just have to do this.
No. Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 15, implementing HB8 outcome-based funding model. Dr. Horacio Salinas
I mean,
and Dr. Ramirez.
yeah, well, just to give you a little heads up, Dr. Salinas has been doing an incredible job, meeting with different departments, giving an update of the changes to House Bill 8. Some of you have been privy to some of the trainings we have received. And he has put together something that we felt would be important for all of our board members to see. And so we're kind of asking him to go, he's our new roadshow. And so for that reason, we asked him to present to you all. So thank you, Dr. Salinas, for your effort.
Thank you very much, board members of the Finance and Audit Committee and Dr. Ramirez, thank you very much. So my purpose here is to give an overview of House Bill 8, which was signed into law just recently on June the 9th. And say a little bit about it because it's something that we're gonna have to eat, breathe, and all of that from here on out. So it's important to understand it. We're at the beginning stages of it, but hoping to begin to introduce this, and as we get our understand this bill and what it means for us. So the House Bill 8, the question becomes why? Why did the state finally decide to change and take a good look at a funding model that had been for decades, basically been going down in terms of state appropriations? What had been going on? Well, this is really important background. And the thing to consider is that in the last census, it was reported that Texas is the fastest, largest state in the country. And it reached 30 million people. So the population is growing in the state of Texas, second to California with about 38 million there. It is the 9th largest economy in the world. And the thing to keep in mind here is that the economy is becoming more specialized, more sophisticated, changing and expanding. Now, you see the picture there, All Eyes on Texas. This is a report that was created by the Dallas Federal Reserve. It came out in early January before the 88th legislature, but contributed to the base and information that would go to House Bill 8. The importance of this report is that it highlighted the importance of community colleges in Texas. It acknowledged that in the next 15 years, more than 4 million jobs will be created in the state, and many of those are going to require a bachelor's degree or more. But millions will be requiring middle tier workers, those that have more than a high school but less than a 4-year degree. That's community colleges. So the beauty of this report is that it highlights the unique role that community colleges are going to play. So now all of a sudden, community colleges are elevated to take a good look at how they're funded and how they operate. Now, currently, community colleges enroll 43% of post-secondary students, and they award 93% of career technical education degrees and certificates. In the 87th legislature, before the one that just ended, a law, SB 1230, said it is time to form a commission and to be able to take a look at the way community colleges are funding. This is a very important commission that met for about a year or a little over a year before they made their report to the 88th legislature before the bill was signed into law. That's the Texas Commission on Community College Finance. Well, this particular commission, very important because they went for about a year looking for feedback from industry leaders, from presidents, from trustees, from students, and even from the public. They commissioned a poll of 5,000 Texans across the state and highlighted the important data points that you see here, that those that were polled said that 95% had a positive view of community colleges. 91% thought that community college degrees and credentials should align with the skills needed by local employers. 85% think degrees, certificates, or other certifications are valuable. 69 believe, very important, that community colleges save money in comparison to a 4-year degree or a college university. 68% believe it's very important that community college credits can be transferred to 4-year universities. 65% believe that it was very important for community colleges to provide educational opportunities for people in their community. And this was a huge highlight. 65% support making community college funding based on outcomes instead of enrollment. So gathering all of this data, they created their report, and it concluded with basically 3 things. Number 1, reward colleges for positive outcomes, credential completion and transfer. That's what I'm going to focus on. The other 2 are also important: ensure equitable access to financial aid and increase capacity to meet rapidly changing workforce needs. So House Bill 8, signed by Governor Abbott on June 9, 2023, with its highlight on groundbreaking policy of shifting funding to an outcomes-based model. And I'll talk about the model that had been currently in place for decades. It rewards colleges for awarding degrees, certificates, and other credentials of value. And more importantly, House Bill 8 is aligned with the state's strategic goals in building a talent strong Texas. You may recall that the prior strategic plan, 60 by 30 Texas, was amended and expanded, and Commissioner Keller, when he took over, said we need to take a look at this. And so they came up with the revised Building a Talent Strong Texas that was adopted in January of 2022. And the thing to keep in mind is that unlike 60 by 30 Texas, where it said ages, Texans, 60% of Texans ages 25 to 34 would attain a valuable post-secondary credential. Now, this strategic plan is including the entire working life of an individual, 25 to 64. And this is really important, and they really are putting money behind this, and I'll talk about that in a second. Provide credentials that meet workforce demands, boosting incomes, and of course, promote research and development to drive discovery, enhance lives, and create jobs. Now, if we look at community colleges as they were currently funded and now shifting into the new model, we know that it was basically three main sources of revenue: the state appropriations, which was mainly made up of contract hours, about 78, 79%, success points, and core operations. Then the local property taxes plus tuition and fees. If you look at the revenue sources from the years 2010 to 2021, you'll notice which of the funding resources went up and has gone up. And that, of course, is the local taxes. From 2010 to, I guess, about 37% to 47%. And then you'll see tuition and fees next, from about 32 down to about 30 now in 2021. But the one that consistently went down was the state appropriations, right? 23% from 31. And I remember, long ago, how we began to see how appropriations were going down and more was expected with less, if you will. So if you could look at the comparison then from the static formula of what we were to now what the HB8 model, the dynamic formula, this is the way it looks like. Whereas the old formula is, here are the monies, and it trickles down to the community colleges in a sophisticated allocation methodology, based on contact hours, success points, and core operations. And it basically considered how colleges were doing in reference to one another, right? What's beautiful about this model that we're now entering is that it's now been appended, meaning that now the community college, depending on their outcomes, if you look at that, those arrows on the right, their credentials and so on, that will depend how much money the institution will receive. So now it's in our hands. And I'll talk about the dynamic model in a second based on two different components. So you see the shift. This is what House Bill 8 did. We moved from the static model to now to an outcomes-based model, dynamic formula. And you can see the difference there. The legacy funding of the static model was contact hours, which is tied to student enrollment. If you recall it in the, the more we got was the hope we can get 10,000 students and we certify them by the 12 class days, and depending on their courses, we will get X amount based on their contract hours. Well, that now is not going to factor in that importantly, unless you fall into the base tier community college, which we do not. The HB8 model, funding model is now the performance tier and the base tier. Everybody is, all the 50 community colleges will get funding through the performance tier, and few colleges the base tier. And let me talk about that real quick. So the base tier funding really, to make a long story short, make it short, is simply this. If you're at a community college, and here mainly rural, perhaps small colleges, where the cost of instruction and operations are greater than what they get in property taxes and tuition and fees, then you're going to get the difference. That's the base tier. So for example, let's say community college A, it costs them $5 million to be able to educate their students, instructional operations. But they only get 4.2 million in terms of the local shares and revenue. Then they will get the difference of 800,000 Or if it's the other way around, it'll be 0. Now, I realize I'm not gonna get into the weeds. I'll let Mr. Vela and all others in the finances to do that. But that in a nutshell is the case. If the instruction operations outweigh the local share, you get the difference. If not, 0. But then everyone will be available for the performance.
And if I might add to that, only 5% of community colleges in Texas fell into that base tier. 95% of us are in performance tier.
That is correct. Thank you, Dr. Ramirez. So the performance tier is this. This is where our focus will be now and in the future. And that is, it's going to be based on measurable student-focused outcome. What are these credentials of value? And these credentials of value will be both on credit and the non-credit programs. We're looking at, for example, associate degrees where you'll get the majority of the funding there, but also certificates and other credentials of value. And now we're looking to incorporate non-credit programs such as the Occupational Skills Award and other ICLC, what they call for licensures and certifications, will be factored in as we report. But there will be additional funding if these credentials are in high demand fields, and I'll list a few of them, but you can imagine what they're going to be, the STEM fields and so on and so forth. Now, in another important outcome is students who at least have 15 semester credit hours and transfer. A minimum of 15 SEH will be reported. They will be also factored in for funding. And also, very importantly, our dual credit students. They complete 15 semester credit hours as they head towards a pathway on a degree or a workforce credential would also be included as for funding. Now, there's going to be additional weights. If our students that receive credentials are economically disadvantaged at 25%, academically disadvantaged, and adult learners, 25 and older. And I'll factor that in on the pure understanding the performance funding. So I'm not going to get into the formula much, but just to highlight this, the formula is basically this: the sum across outcomes of weighted outcome completions times outcome funding rate, which the state will set. Now, what are the weighted outcome completions? Well, that's the outcome count plus weight counts times weights. Now, this is the way it looks like. Suppose you have 1,000 graduates, okay? Now, out of 1,000 graduates, 100 had been determined to be academically disadvantaged. Well, you multiply that 100 times 25%, gives you an extra 25. So you add 1,000 and 25. Let's say that another 100 out of those 1,000 were adult learners. Here you would multiply not 25%, but 50%. And this is why it's going to be very important for our outreach to go from the 25 and older. So then you have 50 there. So you add the 1,000 plus 25 and 50, then you multiply that with a funding rate. So that's just kind of a nutshell. But this is why the weighted things are important. Now you may be asking, well, why is the state doing this? Very simple. They recognize that some community colleges, it costs more to educate our students. Why? Because they're economically disadvantaged, or even if they're adult learners, maybe they've been out of school for a while. So the weighted funding, the hope is that in our strategic planning, we will use that fund to expand our support services, to expand all of the areas where we need to provide resources to be able to do a better job to educate our students and help run the college in a very effective way. So that basically, I don't need to go to the rest because I just gave you that example. That basically is the idea behind the performance-based funding. Here's just a list of the high demand fields: engineering, mathematics. There are a lot more, but I just wanted to give you an idea that there will be additional funding if students get credentials in these fields. And factoring in will also be regional fields. So let's say, for example, in Laredo, maybe the logistics or other areas in the region would also be factored in. So in my last slide here, what does it mean for us, right, in terms of strategic planning? Well, we definitely do believe in the motto, igniting excellence and the legacy continues. It's now time to truly look under this HBA challenge to look at our focus on student success. We now need to turn to our attention to completion, to making sure that our students are graduating and have credentials of value. And I think that we're beginning to do that. I love that now we're having more graduation ceremonies because students can see that, the community can see that, hey, it's not off, it's not far off. I can be the next one in at the end of the semester, at the end of the summer, right? We need to align programs with the local and state job markets to to increase funding. Really important is this third bullet here, data collection analysis. We really need to provide resources in the way we collect the data, report the data, because we want to make sure we report accurately so that we could be funded properly. The financial planning also under Mr. Vela and his team is going to be very important to create a planning revolving around this dynamic model. The beauty of the equity considerations is making sure that equal opportunities exist for all students. And that also is part of the plan of the weighted component of it. And last, but more importantly, is to understand that we are now in the process of a culture shift. And board members and Dr. Ramirez, everybody, is going to be really important to begin focusing on the performance tier funding and HBA, so that we can move from an enrollment focus to the outcome focus. Yes, enrollment numbers are going to be very important, but in the end, the monies will be released as to whether or not these people are completing. And the hope is to change institutional values, faculty incentives, and overall college priorities. And so this is our challenge as leaders, so that in the end, that Laredo College student success is our success. And so if you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
Just a couple of additions to that. I think he does a great job outlining all of the details, because the devil is in the detail, and we all know that. But when he mentioned support services, we're looking at how do we grow and develop our academic support services. How do we maintain and continue students on pathways towards that graduation, and therefore the 8-week programming that we're doing, which is going to, I think, be hugely supportive of our completion rates. We're also looking at how do we recognize the successes of our students, so that along the way we have trigger points that if somebody's not showing up for class, we find out sooner. So, what are we doing to report students who are falling behind? What are we using as early alert? How are we going to phase that in? Is there a grant out there we can get support from to find an early alert program? And he's working with someone to try to find a different early alert system. Although we have something in place, I think they're looking at enhancing that. And so the other thing is that we're going to have multiple opportunities to report to the coordinating board, where before we would report on or after the 12th class day, and then there was one more report on the 20th. Now they're going to give us multiple opportunities because we have multiple starts. And so we have some of our workforce programs going on 4 weeks, and then we have other programs going on 8 weeks. And then we have the 16-week programs. And so how we are able to report those, now some may get reported for the spring semester and some may get reported for the fall semester, depending on when those different timelines fall into place now with the coordinating board changes. But everyone is going to get counted. And I think that's the biggest difference. Before, if you had a late start, you got a late start. And so now there is no such thing. Every student, every continuing ed student, every workforce student, everybody will be counted. And it's going to fall in line just in one of these categories. So that's a good thing. As long as we can get all of the back end done, it's a good thing. We do have a committee that is working. Dr. Tirina is chairing that on data reporting and analysis, and when we're reporting and how we're reporting and who's responsible for each report. I should be getting an update on that on Friday, but the idea is we just need to stay on top of that because it will be critical to our future.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Alright. Thank you, Dr. Salinas. That's it. 16 adjournment.
I motion.
All right, it is 1:03, approximately 1:03 PM, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the craziness yesterday, but we were able to get them here today.